anymore. Yeah, I'm on. Hey, everybody, this is John Griffiths. If you don't know John, you should really get to know him. He's a great guy. I think so. And I know your wife thinks so. Thinks he's pretty spunky. I'll embarrass you before we start, hey? So we're in the middle of a finance series. We've got our miracle offering coming up in July of this year, which is, it's almost June, isn't it? It's June next week. So it's flying. So it's not far away, but we just got you up here to have a chat about how you do finances. You're a farmer. You've been a dairy farmer for how many years now? Forever?
Forever.
Yeah. So you grew up as a dairy farmer?
Yeah, I grew up on a dairy farm. Yeah.
So he's got the beautiful cows that are just down the river. If you drive along West Tamar Highway towards Lagana and look over to your right, you'll see these amazing cows. And they're pretty special, aren't they?
They're pretty good. Yeah, I like them.
Yeah. I've even heard Wendy being called a good cow, but it's all in love, isn't it? Because he likes them so much. So anyway, we should talk about finances because that's what we're here to talk about. So over your time as a farmer, you've seen your family do it and then you've taken over the farm. Have there been financial challenges as a farmer?
Yeah, there's always financial challenges. I think in the dairy industry, it's been an industry that's probably been in decline for the last 50 or 60 years in terms of the numbers of dairy farmers. So there's always financial pressure and people just can't stay in the industry.
Has that got to do with big companies dictating how much they'll pay for your milk? Is that?
Yeah, well, we what you call a price taker. So we can't set our prices. Some businesses can if you're selling food or whatever. You set your price. We've just got to take whatever we're offered, and that can be good one year, and the next year it falls in a heap.
So I imagine over that time you've had to look at debt to help your business to grow or to cover costs. How have you and Wendy managed debt over the years? I guess it's something not all of us like to do. We don't like to go into debt, but there's a reality if you're growing a business. So how do you guys do debt? How do you deal with taking a loan?
Yeah, well, sort of the way I see it, there's two sorts of debt. There's our business debt, and yes, we've got a lot of debt as far as the business goes, and you have to have that, I think, to stay in business. You've got to keep investing in new equipment, latest technology and that sort of thing, new land in our case. Yeah, so that's all right, I think, as long as you do the sums and you can manage that debt, that's okay. As far as debt, household debt that we run, we've always just paid for things as we go. We do have a credit card, but I always make sure I can pay that off every month. Well, if we buy a little bit larger item, I like to know I can pay it off within 2 or 3 months at the most.
Because you do run a fairly large household. How many kids at home at the moment?
That's right, yeah, we've got 7 children, all at home, and so that's been a big cost.
So the food bill is quite extensive per week, I can imagine.
Yeah, it is. I know I did the figures a couple of years ago, and at that stage was spending $100 a day at Woolworths.
So in that time in paying debt off, sorry, I'm just going to ignore that figure. But no, not really. Has there been times where it's been a struggle to pay off debt? Are there things that you've had to go without to pay off the debt, or is it just something that you just breathe through?
As in paying off the business debt?
No, your personal debt.
Oh, personal debt. Well, as in personal debt, I guess we're a bit different. We haven't really had personal debt.
So is that because you budget and that you take steps to not, I guess, exceed what you have in your hand?
Yes. I'd probably call it do a mental budget. I don't have one on paper, but yeah, I like to know where we are financially, and as I say, that if we do buy something, whether it be holiday or TV or something like that it can be paid for.
So business debt, is that harder to pay off? If you get a season, say like the last 12 months where Woolworths and Coles, I know you don't sell your milk to Woolworths and Coles, do you?
No.
But so with the people that you supply your milk to, has that been a difficult thing when the price of milk has dropped fairly dramatically?
For instance, 2 years ago with the global financial crisis, and and the milk prices pretty well fell in half, and we were, going in debt on a monthly basis as far as the business went. But that's just something you have to live with. You understand that it's a cyclical business, and you just hang in there till the price comes back again.
So during those times, are there ways that you do cut costs?
As far as the business goes, yes, you cut back everywhere you can. Yes.
Yeah. So is that a staffing thing? So does that mean that there are times when you work more personally and you have to put off some of your casuals? Or?
No, we haven't had to do that. We haven't had to put off staff. It's more just other inputs. It might be fertiliser or something like that you cut back on.
Which I guess you can only cut back for a certain amount of time before you...
That's right, and that's why we continue to go into debt during that time. But you've got to keep the business strong, so when the prices come back, you're in a position to take advantage of them.
Yeah. So you and Wendy both tithe. How have you found that to work with debt? Is that something that comes first, or is it something that comes last for you as a family?
Well, I grew up in the church, and my understanding was, you tithe, and so I made a strong commitment probably when I was 18, and from that point on, I just believed you tithe your income without question, really, and I think we've had to trust God in that. As I say, we've had 7 children on a single income, and you ask most people in the world and say, you can't do that. It doesn't work, but it has. So I believe we live by faith and not by sight. So with our tithing, it's not a legalistic thing, but it's an opportunity we have to give back to God, sow into the kingdom, and I believe He's blessed us abundantly.
Now we've also got, as I said before, the miracle offering coming up in July. Now that's something that you and Wendy have participated in the past. You gave money to help finish the chapel off. Has that been something, I guess, how did you work through that, giving that money? Was it something that you just like, oh yeah, that's just spare in the cupboard, I'll just throw it in the miracle offering, or is it something that actually cost you?
Once again, it was a faith thing. At that time of that miracle offering, I already knew that the milk prices were hit pretty hard, and things were going to be tight there, that the milk price fell in half. But I had this money come in from some land sale, and I could have looked at it in different ways. I could have used that money to pay off some debt, and in not doing that, because I still had that debt, I've got an ongoing cost, year after year. I could have justified it. I could have bought a new car. Our car is 14 years old. It's going to run out one day. Could have bought a nice car. Could have gone for a nice holiday with the family around the world. I've heard Tim and Sharon say what a blessing it was to take their children around the world. We could have done that. But for me, it was on my heart. God laid it on my heart that to give this money, and it was for the chapel, and that was. We didn't build the chapel here, to get more customers in and create more revenues, because we've got a vision that we want to help people. We want to be involved in people's lives, their marriages. We want to see people get married, and in a time when marriages are struggling, and young people not quite sure how to hold it together. Old people aren't sure how to hold it together, So we're about influencing people, and we want to get involved, and we're seeing that happen now. So that was in my heart. I'm sort of passionate about marriage, and I believe that God, if you put 2 people together, you must have managed to be good. Surely He didn't want us to live in misery. But it happens. But I believe God creates ways, according to His word, where we can be blessed living in marriage. So we as a church want to see that happen.
So the miracle offering was something that you felt prompted by God, but you then also put thought into how that was going to affect you financially on a personal level.
Yes.
But then you continued to go down that path because it was a faith step. Has God made life difficult? Do you regret giving that money? How has God honoured you in giving that money?
No, I don't regret giving that. I don't think we've suffered greatly from doing that.
Have you been blessed by what you've seen happening in the chapel?
Well, I think so. I've heard the figures. I think Tim talked about we're involved in 10% of the weddings in Launceston or something like that. you know, which to me that's a big figure and a great figure that one church can be involved in that many weddings and have input, and it's not just marrying the people here. You know, we do follow up. We talk to them before they get married, give them some guidance. Yeah.
So you've been blessed in your gift, even though it has cost you. You've still been blessed by seeing the results of what has happened.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to share, just about your finances, or?
I'd just like to stress probably, you know, the point. I know there's people that will argue the point that, you know, tithing is not for today or whatever, for the church's Old Testament thing, but I just don't look at it like that, you know, as a legalistic thing. As I said, it's a matter of faith that we can trust God. We just live by faith.
So we would encourage everybody to remember that there's a box out in the foyer. If they haven't already given their tithe today, that they should give their tithe.
Yeah. And there's been other stories. I could go into other stories as far as the farm and the business of how we've been blessed abundantly, like you wouldn't believe possible. Could be another story another day. But
Yeah. Is it time, Tim? It's time. Anyway, let's give him a great big round of applause.